Have you ever seen one of those viral illusions? Like this one where people debated if this dress is blue and black or white and gold. What if we told you that these odd moments of confusion weren't tricks, but rather clues? Clues that your brain isn't just a camera recording and showing you the world around you, but rather it's creating it. In this PSA project, we're going to show you how our brains construct reality, from the way we can perceive colors and sounds around us to the way we build social systems like gender, race, and even money. To start at the very beginning, we have to start with our senses. Our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin are filled with sensory receptors. These don't give us a full picture of the world around us, they just detect specific types of stimuluses. For example, when you're washing your face in the morning or washing your hands, you can feel that your skin is wet, but there actually aren't any receptors in the skin that are specifically telling you that or sensing that. The brain isn't receiving a perfect feed of reality, it's getting small, filtered signals, and from there it has to fill in the gaps and make sense. So let's talk about perception, which is how we view the world around us. According to neuroscientist Anil Seth, our conscious experience is basically a controlled hallucination. Now, that doesn't mean we're hallucinating in a medical sense, but rather it means that our brains are constantly guessing what's out there, using past experiences and the sensory information it's receiving to make sense of the present. For example, when light hits our eyes, our brain doesn't just say, cool, here's the data, but it rather asks what you should be seeing right now and then presents you with the image, which is why illusions work.
Now let's dive deeper into how the sensory inputs are processed through the brain. If we keep our example with vision, once the electrical signal from the sensory input, so the light, travels through the visual cortex, the brain can use either bottom-up processing, which is just analyzing raw sensory data, or top-down processing, which is applying prior knowledge and context to create a coherent image. The brain also relies on cues, assumptions, expectations, and patterns to make sense of what you see. These mental shortcuts, while efficient, can sometimes lead to errors in perception, especially when faced with optical illusions. The Kanisa triangle illusion is a great example of how the brain fills in gaps to create a complete image. The shapes are placed in a way that produces the outline of a triangle that doesn't actually exist. This shows how the brain tends to organize visual information into coherent forms because it doesn't like incomplete patterns. This also highlights the power of top-down processing, which is when the brain uses prior knowledge to interpret what you see. Studying such an illusion is a great way to understand how our mind interprets the world and fills in the missing details with assumptions and prior knowledge to form complete pictures. Now, this lightness illusion by Ikiyoshi Katoka demonstrates how our visual system uses cues like the surrounding environment to perceive the lightness of the square. The square appears lighter against dark background and darker against a lighter background, even though it's actually the same color. This also happens because the brain infers the object's lightness based on its perceived relationship to its surroundings, so whether it's in bright light or dark shadow. This phenomenon can also be observed with the dress illusion that we showed you in the beginning. Our brain makes assumptions about the quality of light casted on the dress, and then the ambiguity of the lighting in the photo results in our brain filling in that ambiguity by using past experiences to guide our perception.
But this doesn't just stop at perception. According to psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett, our brains also build something called social reality. These are things that don't exist in nature, but yet we treat them as very real, like countries, money, laws, and even race and gender roles. Now, breaking that down becomes a very sociology-based ideal, but what we can take from that is what Lisa calls the 5 C's to create things around us. These are creativity, communication, copying, cooperation, and compression. We create ideas, we share them through language, we copy other behaviors, we cooperate to make them work, and then we simplify them to understand and repeat them. These ideas can be applied to the most basic of sensory inputs that our brain receives.
So, you might be wondering, why does any of this matter? Well, once you realize that your brain is constructing your reality based on your past, your culture, and your expectations, it becomes easier to understand why people see the world differently, and it gives us a sense of humanity through these differences. It also helps to explain bias. If your brain has learned certain patterns from your environment, it may automatically fill in the blanks in a way that reinforces stereotypes or assumptions, even when you're not aware of it. So, to do a quick recap, the world you live in is part external and part internal. Your brain is constantly working to make predictions, it's adjusting to stimulus, and it's interpreting the world to build a version of reality that makes sense to you. Understanding this can make us more curious, more empathetic, and maybe even a little more humble. By understanding how that process works, we can become more aware of our own assumptions and a little more open to perspectives that differ from our own. Thank you for watching.